Hi, I'm Nabiah Sohail, Head of Children and Young People's Therapies. I manage children's speech and language therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, key working and the targeted health outreach team, and paediatric dietetics. My role involves working with leads of these services to ensure we provide high quality care that meets the needs of children and young people and their families here in Hackney. As part of AHP Day, I'm sharing a little bit about my AHP journey. My mum worked in speech and language therapy, and I'd like to think that she inspired me to go into this profession. I always knew that I wanted to work with people, particularly children. I loved writing and I loved languages, so speech and language therapy seemed the perfect fit for me. I went to City University and did the 4-year undergraduate degree in speech and language therapy, and actually once I qualified I got my first job at New Scotland Yard as a forensic phonetician. So my role required me to analyse speech recordings to identify speakers. It was very interesting being involved in kidnapping cases and terrorism cases and presenting evidence in court, but I soon realised that this isn't why I studied speech and language therapy. So I got myself my first job as a therapist here in Hackney, and I've been here ever since. I've worked across the whole age range of 0 to 25 in paediatric speech and language therapy, working with children with different speech, language and communication difficulties. And then I went on to being a teaching fellow at UCL as part of a secondment, supporting the training and development of student speech and language therapists. And then I took on some management roles as clinical lead and then managing the speech and language therapy service before taking on this job, which is a more recent role that I've taken on as Head of Children and Young People's Therapies. The way in which the speech and language therapy team transformed their service over the pandemic and the initial lockdown was really just incredible. The detrimental effects of the lack of speech and language therapy on children and young people's mental health and putting them at risk of criminality and making them more vulnerable, and just the long-term effects for society in terms of behaviour and employability and poor educational outcomes is really well documented. The service saw a need to continue to provide a service, and that's exactly what they did. An almost completely online service was provided to children and young people and their families during a really tough time, and virtual platforms were used to deliver therapy and new pathways were devised. And for those who couldn't access online therapy, therapists drove and cycled and walked across Hackney and delivered therapy at doorsteps, in gardens, on the streets, in the parks, and I mean that's just incredible. Being highly commended at the Patient Safety Awards, the HSJ Patient Safety Awards was under the new Improving Care for Children and Young People Initiative of the Year category was just amazing. It really was the icing on the cake. Every member of the team is responsible for the success, and I think it's really important to showcase and highlight that. And going forward, the service now has a new sustainable offer of providing virtual therapy for a cohort of children and young people, and that's just great learning from a really difficult situation and time. It's an honour to be Head of Children and Young People's Therapies, and to head up a team of such passionate, dedicated and resilient staff is really incredible. I think the term AHP family has been talked about a lot, but I've sort of really got a good sense of what that means since taking on this role. In children and young people's therapies, these AHPs, they thrive to maximise potential, to bring out the best in children and young people, whether that's a dietitian who's supporting a young person with their eating and drinking, or a speech and language therapist who's supporting a baby with dysphagia or swallowing difficulties, or an OT who's maximising occupational performance for a school-aged child. Could be a PT helping a young person to play football again following surgery. It's just incredible work. And what's really wonderful is that we have an amazing key working and targeted health outreach team that supports all these services. The key working team really helps to coordinate care and support to families who have children with complex needs and significant social issues. Key workers bring together professionals and families, and the targeted health outreach team helps young people with disabilities to improve their health and well-being and really help them to be independent and happy. It's a really exciting time to be an AHP. There is so much happening at a national and local level to bridge gaps and to ensure that AHPs are on par with nursing and medic colleagues, and more importantly that there can be shared learning. The whole neighbourhoods agenda is completely in line with what AHPs have been trained to do, providing the right care at the right time at the right place, reducing inequalities, supporting inclusion and really promoting best life outcomes. So do keep a lookout for more videos and blogs to learn more about the various AHPs and the contribution that they make.